TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Yes, welcome to Man Unveiled. I'm your host, Joe Wisdom, and this is Wednesday, and 8 to 9 p.m. is our time. We are grateful to God for allowing us to have such a wonderful show that is building men. In fact, I don't think we have such a show in the world, not just in Africa. A show that is purely dedicated for man. And you know, when you empower a man, you empower not only the society, but the whole species of humanity. Because a man has pets, and when a man is happy, the family is happy and the dog is happy. You know, when a man is coming home, the dog will always come running after the man because he knows he must pass by the nearby butcheries to collect some few things. So we are here to talk about you as a man, and a man is a pillar in a family. We want to say tonight is our night, specifically dedicated to talk about how men behave. Helping women, helping children understand how men behave and how they communicate. Sometimes look at men as mysterious creature, a mysterious creature. But a man is someone who is created in the image and the likeness of God. I'm joined tonight by some two dangerous men. These men have been approved by this show that they are the best to sit on this program to discuss the issue at hand. We are looking at decoding the man. We want to help you understand your man. We want to help you understand your brothers and your father, for that matter. You may not know why your father behaves the way he behaves, but these men are here, anointed for you. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and you can share this link to your family and friends. Let them know that something great is happening here on Elevate TV. I want to give our pastor here, Pastor Nyaga.
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm well. Good evening to you, Pastor Joe, Pastor Ephantus.
Yes, sir.
And to every one of our viewers, good evening, praise the Lord. Yet again, we come to you with this, I think, timely conversation about the man. And you know, masculinity is something that sits at the center of God's agenda and will as far as the issues of leadership, family and kingdom is concerned. So I would want every man out there, you know, young, married, unmarried, to just tune in and just invite your friends. Let's have a conversation. Get to the socials, Elevate TV, Facebook, YouTube. Ask questions. Let's have an interactive session tonight, and let's hear the wisdom of God and know the basics of how God created man and how our responsibilities ought to be dispensed so that we are the face and the image of God as He intended us to be.
Wow, great, thank you. And we always say that this is a family show, and it will be injustice if you don't shout out to your dear family.
Yeah, all right. Like I said last week, I'm a married man to one very beautiful girl from Lagos, my wife, Kisha Sami Murioki. A big shout out to you and my children, Israel and Deborah, and to Christ Restoration Gospel Center, Thika family. A big shout out to you.
Wow, great. Thank you, sir. And you married from Lagos. You are a dangerous man. He imported love.
He's a dangerous man.
So this gives hope to some of the men who are seriously single. If local is not working for you, please, you can try outside the borders.
The determination and the effort is something else. But good evening. My name is Pastor Ephantus Njogu, Njogu. I pastor a church called Love Arena Ministries in Kimbo, Ruiru, that is Nairobi, Kenya. and I'm so delighted to be on this show today to talk about men. And before we get into the conversation, I will just begin where Pastor Joe has left it, that we need to give a shout out to our families, my lovely wife, Jerica Modoni, and our kids, and the Love Arena family. I hope you are tuned in. Share with somebody, call somebody, make sure that somebody benefits from the grace and the utterances and the action of God tonight as we delve into the matters that pertain decoding a man. And I think men are as interesting creatures as women. And so it is going to be an interesting journey today as we look at what is this man and how complicated or how easy is he, so that we are able to deal and work with them very safely. Because I think, Apostle Joe, yes, when you fix a man, you fixed the most important foundation.
Oh, yes.
You see, when you miss the measurements of a cornerstone, that building cannot sit well.
Cannot stand.
Yes, it can't stand. And so I think when you're fixing the man, you are basically fixing the cornerstone.
Wow.
When that foundation is laid properly, then I think everything else can fit to where it's supposed to fit. Wow. But when it is not in alignment, then you cannot fix. I keep feeling like, and I keep saying, because I'm convinced about it, that God never intended the society to be governed by governments. The intention of God was that the society would be governed from the family unit. Yeah. And that is the reason why we have all other things in place, is because the family is not standing as it should have been standing. And men are the foundation of that family. Wow. So I think it's an interesting conversation. And this is a beautiful, beautiful show that you keep on bringing resources that will build men.
Yes.
And we thank God.
Wow, great. And we are so grateful that you are joining us. Please continue writing to us. We want to get those questions. If you are a lady there watching us tonight, kindly, if there's something that you feel you've not been understanding, maybe a behavior, or somehow the way your man uses his language, please write to us. If there's something that you need to seek understanding, we have men of wisdom here. And you remember what Proverbs says, that wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. And in all thy getting, get understanding. Understanding makes you outstanding. There are some battles you'll avoid just by the virtue of having understanding of issues. I want to shout out to my family, Lineas Joe. Thank you so much for your support. Our children, Victor, Sophie, and Sonia, a great support system. They are the one that has given me the confidence to talk about these issues. Because if you are coming from possibly a broken place, you become very shy to talk about some things.
Very true. Very true.
So we want to thank God, and we want to continue praying for our families. Pastor Sam.
Yes, sir.
Are there some misconceptions when we talk about decoding a man? When you talk about studying and understanding man's behavior and language, do you feel like there are misconceptions about men that have really placed man in a very bad place? That have, in fact, because everyone is judging the man. Every time we are talking about this man doesn't do this man doesn't do this, we are not even saying the things they are doing right. Why do we assume, Pastor Sam, that this man knows how to do things?
I think, Pastor Joe,
yes, sir,
one of the things that we have not been able to articulate clearly is that when you are in the position of leadership, you cannot shy or wish away being misunderstood. And man being in the place of leadership, and I keep saying that the leadership of a man is not an appointment. It's not a government that is going to be out of leadership in the next 5 years or so, or whatever cycle there is in your country. But the leadership of man is there by ordination. And the problem of ordination is that there's nothing you can do about it, because that is God didn't consult us before he did that. So being in the position of leadership puts a man in a place where certain things are going to be misunderstood about his character, his behavior, and how he does things. But the best person to debunk the understanding about man is man.
Wow.
So I think like we do not do justice to that question if we don't ask the man to explain to us what he means by this kind of behavior and that other kind of behavior. Yes. Take for example, there are certain things that are assumed that in the behavior of a man, when a man keeps quiet, he's assumed to be arrogant. You know, he does his ego is on the rooftop. He does not want to confront issues. He's a coward. You know, all those kind of things. But have you ever tried to find out from a man, what does your silence mean? Because our silence may mean something very different from what you're interpreting it to be. So I think our conversation should be, man, or Mr. Man, can you tell us, when you behave like this, what should we understand and what should we do, or how do you expect us to behave with that, you know, your character? But at the end of the day, I began by saying this last week, we have two ideologies of a man as we talk here. And I would want our listeners to understand, because I feel like some of the ladies out there might feel like we are just pushing men down their throats. You have to understand this man the way he is, and he doesn't have time to change, so you take him the way he is. That's not what we are saying. We have this group of men who have completely laid back, irresponsible, they don't want to take any responsibility. In fact, their masculinity is an insult to being a man. And that's not the kind of man we are talking about. When we are talking about understanding a man, we are talking about understanding this alpha male man that has taken the bull by its horn and confronts life and wants to live up to his responsibility. And yet he's being misunderstood, he's being unnoticed, and he's not even being thanked for his job. Because when you are in the place of leadership, many a times your roles and your responsibilities go without being noticed.
Wow. I like what you're saying, that there's this laid back man. And in fact, that has become a big discussion. It has been a great debate on the churches, because sometimes you see this man doesn't know, the woman is paying bills, and you know, she's paying school fees. She's the one who knows what shall, you know, feeding the family. And there's a man who lost his job sometimes, and he's not even doing anything about it. The
6-7 months down the line.
Yes, in fact, the woman keep looking, getting opportunities, pushing. In fact, she has even taken loans to try and jumpstart this man. But the man is still stuck.
The battery is completely dead, and he's not willing to buy a new one.
Help us understand this, because there's a lady watching and it says that I am tired.
A very interesting conversation, especially where Pastor Sam has left it. I think, Apostle, what we sometimes not understand is that people, or we are born male, but men are made.
We become men.
We become men. So men are made over time. And I think sometimes our expectations on men, we are expecting what we should expect a man to do on people that are not really made as men.
Okay.
And
it's like expecting milk from a starving cow.
Something so close to that. Yeah, so sometimes I think we are having too much expectation on a man that is not made. And it's either because he's not deliberate, maybe he doesn't know how to navigate his way. There are people that outrightly are irresponsible. But to that irresponsible man, we would say that he's not a man enough. Sorry to every woman out there that has married a man that is not a man enough. Because, again, I will say there is not much we can do to rehabilitate that one. The most unfortunate bit is that they will keep on dropping their seeds here and there.
Yeah, they are generous.
They are very generous, because even if you divorce them, they will find somebody else, because it looks like we have a shortage of men. But that said and done, I think for me my conversation should be how deliberate are we to make the kind of men that we we want and the kind of men that we should have. And I think every single one of us in the society, whether you are a child, whether you are a father, whether you are a mother, whether you are a sister, we have the responsibility to produce, give support, and to make the kind of a man that we really want. And that then takes us to what misconceptions are there, like what you asked. What misconceptions are there, especially when it comes to men? Because those misconceptions could have iotas of truth. For example, when women say that all men are the same, especially for the hurt women, what do they really mean?
In fact, there is someone who asked.
Yes.
You go saying, and in fact, let me advise you ladies. If you go saying that all men are the same, the problem is not the men, the problem is you. Who told you to taste all of them? That's what someone says.
But Apostle, for me, my question would be, it means that there are so many things that men react the same.
Okay. Now that's a point.
Yes, there are so many things that we react the same, so that if somebody has dealt with one and heard the stories of another, they feel like this is the same script with that of somebody else. So the question would be, what is not happening? Is it that all men are having the same default?
What are we missing?
Or what are we missing that we have not decoded to know, okay, this is how this type of a man operates or type of a machine operates, and so we need to deal with them in a certain way. And I think our conversation should be, then how do we, if all men are the same, assuming that it is true that all men are the same, or most men react the same, is it that they are in default, or is it that we are the people that don't understand that this is how a man operates?
I like the how, where you are taking this conversation, because Pastor Sam, there's a question that I feel like we have not answered. There's a lady watching us here. There are some children watching us here. And they are asking, why does our father behave the way he behaves?
Yes.
And they are waiting for an answer.
Yes.
We are beginning from those who are very jovial and those who are taking up the responsibility. They have no issue with that. They have a problem with their father who comes home, doesn't want to talk to anyone. All right? He has the remote, but he's not watching news. And he doesn't want anybody to touch that remote. And he's not watching the news.
So I think, Apostle Joe,
Yes.
Two things. I'll pick it up from where Pastor Ephantus has dropped it. The fact that we must be very active contributors to the making of the man that the society expects us to be. But beyond that, the question of who is man. God created man, number one, as a leader. The Bible says very clearly, Apostle Joe, the head of every woman is man. And the head of every man is Christ. And the head of Christ is God. Now, that's an order that all of us in the universe, the 7-point-something billion of us, we can't vote it out. We can't change it. So the question is, have we trained ourselves on modus of operandi on how to deal with that order? With a man as a leader who must submit to Christ and Christ to God. And so we take that from that man. Number two, when you read 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 8, the Bible says the man who does not provide for his family has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. When you look intently, the depth of that word provide does not necessarily have to do with making food available.
Yes.
It has everything to do with caring for somebody and providing a visionary dream that a family unit can run with. And so basically a man does not think what is affecting us here. If we need to make a decision on something that is going on here, the man is not just thinking about the temporary decision. He's thinking, how is that decision going to impact the big picture, the big vision of this family. So sometimes he's keeping quiet because he's seeing that the solutions you people are providing or that you're demanding, yes, it is going to be, it's like taking a Panadol and yet you have cancer. So he's looking at the cancer, and you guys are insisting we want to take Panadol. So once you're not reasoning from the same script, a man is going to go quiet. Because there is no need of delving information with somebody who is not reasoning at your level. You either end up creating conflict or being misunderstood. So, you know, somebody said, you know, silence can never be misquoted. So the man prefers to keep quiet rather than talk and then you insist on taking this Panadol, but in his head he's thinking, how do we heal this cancer so that the vision for the family, so that this business that I want to start 6 months down the line does not die because somebody wants Brazilian air on his head, on her head. So how do I solve this problem? Can I delay it 1 more week? I deal with the issue of the business and then buy this Brazilian here 14 days later. But the person is looking at this man, the man is quiet. So why is our father keeping quiet? Your father is keeping quiet because you have not come to the place of reasoning with him from the place of a leader, from the place of a visionary, from the place of a provider.
Wow. I like that men sometimes are futuristic, they are visionary, and you know,
actually most times.
Yes. You know, there's a young man who used to look at the dad behave, and he used to think that dad is not aggressive. I wish I was in his position. You know, I wish I was in his position, I could have done. And one day, the man grew up and became a man, and he started to understand why the father was behaving the way he is behaving. So the young man said, Dad, you know, when I used to be this age, I used to wonder why you never used to do it. And he said, the things that you are telling me to do, I did them at your age. So I know what it is that I am supposed to do at my age. You wanted me to do the things that I did at your age. So what you are saying here is, do men have a problem with communication, Pastor Ephantus? Is there a way you can help us decode the language? Because sometimes there is something, you are saying that men talk, men communicate, only that sometimes they are not understood. Maybe you can demystify.
I will say men have an issue with if men have an issue with communication, I would say a yes and a no. And let me say that I think the fundamental issue with a lot of us is that we are mostly dealing with broken men. And that is why I said men are made, because we are dealing with a man that has not been fixed in any way. And mostly what has shaped who we are is either the absence of fathers or absence of people that would shape us to become better. Or if they were there, they were broken themselves. So we've actually gotten into a default of a system that is already broken. Because you discover, and let me address ladies a bit, because Pastor Sam said something that is very fundamental. If a man is not submitted to God, there are expectations you should not have on that man. You cannot try to fix him unless he goes and submits to God. That is number one. But number two, in their submission to God, there should be a learning of submission to another man. So that that man becomes the one that shapes what this man is becoming. And when we talk about communication, you see, I will mostly communicate the way my father was communicating, or I will become an extreme of what he was doing, or I will find my own way without being taught what communication is. I would say generally the society has an issue with communication. And so we are left at the place where we are the ones that are going to fish for the information that is going to help us so that we live in harmony.
The key word there is fishing for the information.
Fishing for the information. Because Apostle, I would even argue that even ladies are not very good communicators. We generally are a society that does not know what communication is.
They are very good in talking.
Yes, and talking is not communication.
You can talk and not communicate.
Yes, we actually assume that if somebody is talking too much, they are
if someone is talkative, they are good communicators.
Yes, it's not true. Actually, we have so many people that talk and they are not communicating, because communicating sometimes is making sure that whatever you were saying has been received by the other party, and if possible, there is a reciprocity.
Yes.
So if I talked to you and I don't receive your reception of my communication, we have not communicated.
That's why we have feedback.
That is why we have feedback. Exactly. And so whether men are good in communication or not, I will say yes and no. And I would encourage men to learn how to talk and to learn how to communicate. But I think generally as a society, and that is why we need to begin raising men.
Yes.
We need to go back to trying to mentor children when they are in their 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Apostle, it is very unfortunate for the education system that we have as a country and generally as Africans, because we go to school to be taught how to pass exams and not succeed in life and become a whole human being. So we have people that are deficient. They have a lot of knowledge that is not helping them and is not building them as man. So I think we need to go back to having conversations with the 10-year-olds. And I keep on saying, even the church you go to matters a lot to the person you're becoming. Because a church should be a school. If you go to a place where it's every day being pushed down and experiencing power, but there is no learning, then you cannot be afraid of God. Hosea chapter number 4, verse number 6. We have rejected, the reason why God has rejected us is because we have rejected knowledge. And I think we need to go back to making sure every institution that we have is beginning to shape the kind of a person that we want to have. And Apostle Joe, and let me finish with this so that I don't talk too much. You see, when we come to the issue of getting married, I think our pasts count for everything unless there is deliverance. And so I think if you want to get the right person, you need to go back into how they were raised. What has their past been like? What is their communication trends? You cannot ignore that past and say that I want to expect this from this man. If that has not been fixed, there is something you cannot get from a man that has come from a broken system. The father was not present. If he was present and absent, or he was present and broken. There is something you cannot get from that man. In the very similar manner, there is something you cannot get from that woman.
I think, Pastor Joe,
Yes,
let me drop a thought as far as what Pastor Ephantus is saying is concerned. You see, God created man before the woman. And the first relationship man has is with God. And then the woman comes, and the instructions of God to the man are supposed to be passed over to the woman by the man. Now, you see, our relationships speak a lot of how much we are able to draw from each other, or how much we are able to pour into each other. So if you're trying to fix a man that has not found God, you're trying to make something out of materials that are not made to make that thing. So I think we need to go down to the fact that we need, as a society, to begin fixing man. And you see, we've been taught, Pastor Joe, by our upbringing and the kind of fathers we had, those of us who had fathers, and those who didn't have, the kind of society we lived in, has taught us that our masculinity is by how much pain we are able to bottle inside. You know, how much we are able to conceal, such that, Pastor Joe, when I was growing up, we used to fight. And our fight is not because anybody has offended anybody. We are fighting to prove masculinity.
Yes.
So the schools where we went, you know, a group of people is going home this direction. Wherever there is a junction, there is a fight. Wherever there is a junction, there is a fight. And you're fighting there to prove masculinity. Yes. And sometimes that has been pushed to us as men, so that now we are proving masculinity by how much we are able to handle, how much we are able to confront, but yet on the inside we are broken. So I think that society needs to come to the point where we begin to redefine man as God saw him. So that now we push man to this relationship that started with God, so that if he draws from God, he is able to pour into this woman and to the society in a balance that he cannot attain by himself.
Powerful conversation right here, and I like the way this conversation is flowing, because a lot of realities are being dropped here, and this gives you understanding of where your man stands, or where you stand as a man. And we are also going to look, after this short break, on how we can improve in terms of our communication, we should not just leave others guess what we are thinking. Because as Pastor Sam has said, God entrusted man to communicate whatever it is he needed to the woman. Are you a good communicator? Allow me to acknowledge Keruti Kamoyai. I love such topics. Thanks Elevate TV for being an all-round station. Thank you so much, Keritu. Alex Mwangi watching, Karen, all the way from Eden. I don't know whether it's Garden of Eden. All right. Moses Kiruga, all the way from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, Kampala. He's a great apostle, a great man of God. Well done, Apostle Joe. God bless you so much. Continue watching. We will be right back after this short break.
Elevate your brand with Elevate TV, a premier media station in the country. We specialize in video production, live coverage, advertising and social media marketing. We do quality production for YouTube videos, podcasts and live events. Transform your vision into reality with creativity and precision. Call us today and elevate your story on 0705 872 237. Explore a world of knowledge at Elevation Bookshop. Dive into topics like marriage, money, and spiritual growth with our vast reading materials. But that's not all. We are thrilled to introduce new additions like stationeries, notebooks, modeling clay, dictionaries, pencils, kamusi, and more. And calling all students, gear up for success with our back-to-school items, providing you with everything you need to excel in every subject. At Elevation Bookshop, we're here to assist you in finding the perfect resources for your journey. Do you have specific preferences or looking for something special? Visit us at Kenya Cinema Plaza, mezzanine floor, or contact us on 0748 902 225. Elevation Bookshop. Enrich your life.
Yes, welcome back to Man Unveiled. We are joined here by our guest, a panel of eminent men. Men who are well equipped, well able, and resourceful. Because our topic tonight is a very, very wonderful topic that is touching you, the man, and the society at large. I'm your host, Joe Wisdom. I'm joined by Pastor Sam, all the way from Thika, and Pastor Ephantus, all the way from Roiro. And we are looking at decoding the man. We have discussed so much, but I want us now to get to places where a lady watching us right here, a young man watching us want to know, why do my father behave the way he behaves? And if he behaves in that manner, what is he communicating? Let me just, Apostle David Juma calls it a hot potato. Let me drop this hot potato here.
Yeah.
We begin with the silence. There's something you said. What does silence communicate? Because a man will come in the house, he's not talking to anybody. He's just there. You ask him a question, he is giving monosyllabic answers. Yes or no?
I think Apostle Joe.
Unakura? Hapana.
I'm not sure. I will tell you when I'm ready to eat.
Yes.
I think Apostle Joe, one of the psychological formation of a man,
Yes, sir.
is that most times when men are under pressure, we tend to isolate.
Okay.
And the reason why we are isolating is because we are not able to handle so many things at the same time. I think I got into that explanation last week. So you will find out that a woman might be going through a lot of pressure, either relationship, and most times relationship, finances, and all that, and family. But a woman can talk to her mother, talk to her grandmother, and even her own child. She will sit down and be talking to a 2-year-old that does not understand whatever is going on in that house. But a woman has that way of letting pressure go out. But for a man, we are not wired like that. Most times a man wants to isolate, process things in quietness, process things. This pressure that I am feeling, what is the way out? Because again, the man understands that he's saddled with the responsibility of providing a solution, not discussing the issue. So when you draw the man into a place of discussing the issue, and he's not seeing the solution in what you're discussing, he might as well shut down. Number two, when you draw a man into a conversation that is completely deviating from the real pressure that is in his heart, he will keep quiet. Wow. So I think at some particular point we need to tell our women, our wives, our daughters, that when a man keeps quiet, it is time that you allow him that space to come back to himself, reprocess things. And it is not bad to throw a question. But if you see that the question you have thrown is not receiving the response you anticipated, don't push for it.
Wow.
Allow the man to process, because it's not like he didn't hear. He heard that, but something else is going on in his mind, and he might probably not be able to respond. So most times women will bear me witness, if you kept quiet with that question and without an answer, a man probably will come back to you 7 hours later, 1 day later, and he was like, and what were you saying that time you talked to me? Now that tells you the pressure that he had that could not allow him hear you has gone down. Now he has interest in what you were saying. So let's not interpret the silence of a man as arrogance or pride or whatever, unless there is a conflict and he does not want to talk. If we are talking about our day-to-day runnings, the man comes back home, we have not had a fight over the day, but then he seems unusually reserved, quiet. He just comes, drops his shoes and goes directly to the bedroom. He just wants to take a shower and put his head down. Don't disturb that man. Something greater than your problem is bothering him. Allow him rest. You can throw your concerns and give him room to reprocess those things and let him come back to you.
Wow.
My thoughts.
I think I would also add something to that silence bit. And I totally agree with everything that Pastor Sam is saying. But I also think...
By the way, Pastor Ephantus, have you been silent? Have you ever been silent? You know you do. And what made you just go mute
and before I answer your question, because I'm trying to do myself introspection when Pastor Sam is talking, and I totally agree with whatever he's saying. But I also would want to add that sometimes men keep quiet or go silent because I think in the equation of power, because I think God created man to be powerful.
Yes, of course.
Man is a creature of power.
And man is a creature of power. And I think in the equation of power, then the more talkative you are, the more you lose power. And it is not even intentional. I think it is in the subconscious of the makeup of a man to be silent. Because the more you talk, the more you become vulnerable. That is why you will find, and Pastor Sam has explained it very well, that sometimes there is a question to be solved, you are thinking in terms of answers. You have discussions in your mind. You are actually throwing questions to yourself and answering them until you get to the answer you give. You realize even when it comes to leadership, anytime you have a leader that is talking too much, they will not be as powerful and they will diffuse the aura of power. And so I think in the creation of God, because even God is not talkative, he speaks but he's not talkative. And I think we are created in the form of God. And I think for ladies, we need to be patient and get into the mind of a man to process how he reasons and how he thinks. But I think basically it's that equation of power that then God allows us not to be too much noisy.
I love that perspective. I have a reason to be silent. So the next time my wife asks me where am I, I'll say, I am like God. I don't want to diffuse the aura of power. I will recruit Pastor Ephantus. Some dangerous men here are speaking. It is so powerful. Thank you, Gabriel Mongai. Learning, Albert Motiso, talking is not necessarily communication. Wow, this is great. Hi to Pastor Sam. Pastor Sam, kuna mtu anakusalimia hapa.
Hi to you, Apostle. Apostle Albert is a great friend of mine.
Wow,
Yeah.
great. Utamleta hapa siku moja.
Yeah, doing great work in Thika.
Wow. Tabitha Gathoni Nganga, thank you, Councillor Tabe. I totally agree with you, Pastor Sam. Sometimes they take time to load. Probably they have something pending as they are processing. Patience here is key.
Amen.
My brother Enoch, thank you so much for watching and keep it elevate. I want to come back to Pastor Sam.
Yes,
and I want to ask now, why is it too difficult? Why is it so difficult for a man to say sorry? and you say that a man, just by a man saying iyo maneno imeisha, you want your woman,
iyo maneno imeisha,
you want that to be an apology, surely. Why is it so hard?
I think Apostle Joe, let me borrow a leaf from Pastor Ephantus.
Yes.
That this is now power.
Yes.
But generally speaking, you know, leadership has ego in it.
Okay.
And leadership has pride in it, and not in the negative. You know, there's an active, positive kind of pride.
Yes.
So I believe that leadership, as man is wired, is in him. But that aside, our African cultural training, you know, we have grown up from where our fathers would not even sleep in the same house with their wives. You will have your own, according to what Wamlima, your own thingira over that side, and women and the children are on the other side. Because man generally is not supposed to show vulnerability. And so when a man breaks down and says, I'm sorry, or kneels down, according to Pastor Ephantus, not to me, it dilutes power.
According to Saint Ephantus.
Saint Ephantus Njogu.
Yes.
It dilutes power. But at the end of the day, we cannot downplay the contribution of culture in the formation of perspectives, mindsets, in our upbringing. So you realize that our fathers, maybe when he truly offended your mother, even when your mother packed and went to our father's house, your dad will never go there to say, I'm sorry. He will just gather some elders, buy a goat, and send them to go and apologize on his behalf. So I think from the African, because I don't believe whites, I don't believe whites have that issue. They would easily say, I'm sorry. Yes. But from our cultural upbringing, I think we are taught that men should not show that level of vulnerability. So somebody would go buy a kilo of meat and just drop it in the house. You should know that he's saying, I'm sorry.
His apology.
His apology. Hata ukisikia mtu amesema hii issue imeishia hapa, it means
he has accepted responsibility.
No, the man is saying, I've beaten, hands up, but I can't surrender. It is said that a soldier should die. Yes. Even if you are, whatever happens to you, die on your feet, not on your knees. Yes. So I believe from the cultural perspective, men have been trained, or masculinity has a lot of things to learn by observation and not training or even being said. We watch, we learn, we see, we subscribe to what we've seen. So, but I want to bring the conversation into the kingdom man.
Yes.
The kingdom man is the man that should be able to say to his wife, I am sorry I offended you.
Yes.
Let's get out of our cultural upbringing. Let's get out of the egocentric man and come to this man that is submitted to Christ.
That is fully transformed.
Fully transformed by the renewing of his mind.
Yes.
Now he has a kingdom mindset.
Yes.
You should be able to say, my wife, I think I was wrong. Because let me tell you, Pastor Joe, one of the undoings of not giving straight apologies is that men sometimes are blinded to certain things that women see. And the moment she tells you, let's not go this direction, I perceive 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like taking a loan.
And you insist you want to go that direction. Then, kanaenda kana kuramba pande hiyo. Then you don't come back and say, I think you are right, I was wrong, I'm sorry. What that woman is going to learn to do is to keep quiet and watch you sink so that you can learn with your mistakes. And that's not a good place to be. So as a kingdom man, you should learn to come back to your, and it's not weakness to say I'm sorry. It's not weakness to say I'm sorry. You should be able to come back to your wife and say, look, I was blinded to certain things. You saw things right, but I was blinded. I'm sorry. I didn't see it that way.
Do men try to run away from that because they feel like if I admit that I was wrong, I'll never be able to have my way any other time? I'll look like
the challenge is, Apostle Joe, is the approach with which women receive apology. Because they are, and I'm not saying all women again, we are not talking about a generalized perspective here. There are certain women who will now take advantage of your apology and use it to mock you. And use it as a tool to manipulate you. So that the next time you're about to say no to a perspective or something that somebody is suggesting, they're like, do you remember the last time I talked to you? You did not listen. Look at what happened to you.
You are now just
about to get into trouble again. So a man might keep quiet because of the kind of character assassination that is going to come from the apology he actually accepted to give.
In that vulnerability.
In that vulnerability. So a man may decide, okay, let me just keep quiet so that I make my mistakes and still remain in power.
So ladies, if you're watching us tonight, please, as if your man is not fully transformed, please, as we pray and trust God for his total and full transformation, please, if he behaves in a manner to suggest, like bring you a gift after a scandal or after something has happened, please take it as an apology in the meantime. Because through this show, this man is transforming. There's no way he can sit under such men and lose it. Pastor Ephantus.
I will want to agree with everything that you've said, and I want to agree with the statement that you made last.
Yes, sir.
Because I think we need to, again, have a way of decoding that apology.
Yes.
I think language is very progressive. Language evolves. So we must ask ourselves, before there was the word sorry, what were people doing?
How are people apologizing?
You want us to take us back to the Stone Age period? We are revisiting the Stone Age period.
You know, Apostle, it's good for us to be very sincere. Because we know, even English, as it is, it is coming from somewhere. Even the Bible as it is written, it was not initially written in English. And so there were words that were in another language that again had to be translated. And you discover that if you go to the evolving of language, sometimes it was in figures, sometimes it was in a describing of actions. So English keeps on simplifying whatever was being said in a very complicated way. So I would actually agree that we need to, if you see this man has come down and he has done whatever he doesn't do, and you can interpret that this is an apology, you don't have to push them for them to say sorry. And I agree, people need to be transformed,
Yes.
and it should be easy for them to say I apologize.
Sorry. Yes.
But again, we should not push these men and break them just because it is not coming from their mouth, and there is an action of kindness.
You
Apostle
see,
Joe.
there is a man, there is a lady somewhere who have gone back to his father's house.
Yes.
Because the man did something and he refused to apologize. And one condition is that this man must apologize.
Before I go back to that
Before
house,
I go back, I don't know if there's nothing else I need.
I just need him to say I'm sorry.
I want.
Apostle Joe, I think the other thing I would add to this
Yes.
is that men also need to learn the love language of their wives.
Yes.
Yes.
Because an apology will be easily accepted if it is in the love language of your wife.
That's very true.
So if your wife's love language is not gifts,
Yes.
if you come with a gift as an apology, it would mean nothing.
It will be manipulation.
It would mean nothing to her. Actually, it would become a burden. But if, let's say, for example, her love language is spending time together.
Wow.
So you coming back from work at 5 p.m. and not 9 or 10, as an apology would work better than buying a bunch of flowers.
Yeah.
So when you understand your wife's love language, if our love language is
Or even your children.
or even your children, or acts of kindness or something, because it's not every time a gift would communicate to each and everybody. So learn your wife's love language and capitalize on that so that your apologies can sail through easily. Yeah.
You know, I remember I used to have a boss sometimes as I was growing up in my profession. I'm an accountant who decided that I want to do something different. I want to monetize my passion. So that man really offended me, and he never used to come to my workstation. So after he offended me, and I really wanted to drop that job, he came, took me, drove me to his farm, and we are having just this moment.
Wow.
And he have not apologized.
Wow.
In fact, he insulted me. He insulted me.
I see what you're saying.
You get my point?
Yes,
He
sir.
took me through the farm. He told me what he is planning. In fact, after that, I went back to work.
Wow. That is it. That is it.
So apology.
Yes.
There's someone, please, you may not push him to say that exact. And in fact, sorry can be said in many ways.
Yes. So many ways.
Because a man can say sorry, but he doesn't mean it.
Yes. Yes.
It's also possible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's possible for somebody to articulate those words very well and even kneel down, but deep down within him, he has not changed. So what you are looking for actually is a transformed man, not just the words that somebody said, I'm sorry.
You must establish a way of communication that is understandable to both parties.
Yeah.
That you know that when if my husband goes silent in the midst of conversation, maybe he's offended. If he goes mute and there's something you are discussing, hataki kukasirika, so he holds back his opinions. So we are trying to decode some of these things. I want to ask you, Pastor Ephantus, because you have been in this industry for long, and I know you as a man of means. Some men, because of where we are coming from, touching the mountain is a taboo. You don't discuss those issues. In fact, I'm sure our children can't get what you're talking about here. And a man doesn't know how to ask for.
He wants to touch the mountain.
He wants to touch the mountain. Pastor Ephantus. But he doesn't know how to ask for the rights. What should the lady see in the man? What behaviors that are likely to suggest? Because if that doesn't happen, he'll go to work angry.
and
He'll project that anger even to the cat. You know, somehow men, when men are offended, when men are stressed, there are some men who just want to climb the mountain, to touch the mountain, and they're okay.
I don't think I'm the right person to answer this question.
No, I can't praise you that you're not the right.
But let me say this.
No, it will not be used against you. Mrs. Ephantus, this is purely for the studio. We are helping people out there.
But let me say, Apostle Joe.
Yes, sir.
I don't think a lot of men have issues with asking to climb the mountain. That is just the very honest truth. Because in our society, I think man has been very emboldened to ask for their rights. Only that sometimes they ignore the feelings of the lady as they ask for their rights. And we actually have so many men that are violating women because they feel like even if we are not talking, I deserve to have it.
That is where now we are coming. We are not. No one has a problem touching the mountain when things are okay.
Now we are not talking, but the mountain needs to be touched.
Yes, you get it. And there is some behaviors you see that tells you that this man needs something.
I think now on this part I will be hard on them.
You can pass it to the doctor. The doctor himself.
Before I pass it to him, I think we need to tell men that now this is where then again you are cornered.
Yes.
Because now here you must give your apology. If you guys are you must give your apology and give it very well. Because again, if you bypass that process,
yes, sir,
it will be equals to an abuse.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think you need to again calm down and know as much as it is you are right, there's a process to it. Because again, that is why God created that thing in that manner. So that we have to pay a price for it. Because whatever you're not paying a price for is prostitution.
It has to, a price has to
yes,
be paid.
there has to be a price. That is why you have to quote a lady. You see, sex without that price, or intimacy without that price, then it becomes prostitution. It's just the way you'd walk on the streets and buy or rape somebody. That is without a price.
Yes.
But now the price that men have to pay. Even a lion has to calm down when it needs to get the intimacy of a lioness. Now, that is how God then again balances the equation. That even a lion must be tamed in a certain way when it needs its rights. So I don't think there is another way. Because again, it would not be justice if I said, if you see a man behaving like this, then give it to them. Then, you know, God has a way of balancing things so that you don't have your way every day.
Pastor Sam, there is a man watching us here and he is saying, for the last 1 week, we've not been in communication and I don't want to go out there. Please, I need to be allowed to touch my mountain. You know, even Caleb when they say, give me my mountain. Now, how do you communicate? What are those signs that possibly men, because as a psychologist I know, you are able to decode?
I think, Apostle Joe, part of the things that as an African society we are guilty of is that we tend to pretend a lot, even on the things that are very obvious. And by that I mean, you have been in a non-communicating kind of setup for 7 days a week, so to say. And it does not mean that it is the man alone who needs to touch the mountain. but then we want to pretend so that we can see where the apology comes from first. Now, this I'm taking that direction so that whatever we are saying in these studios tonight does not get to be used as a manipulating tool.
Yes.
So that now if we have a conflict and the man is not willing to talk, or it's not going the direction that I want as a woman, I wait for him when he needs to touch the mountain and insist to peg him down if he has to touch the mountain. This is what I teach when I do counseling for couples.
Yes.
Let us not allow issues of intimacy, or not just really intimacy, let's not allow issues to spill over and affect other issues. Let's say, for example, we have an issue of finances. We are quarreling about finances. We're not quarreling about intimacy.
Yes.
So let's not allow our quarrel about finances to affect our intimacy, because it becomes easier to solve problems when you do not allow them to get intertwined.
I like that.
You don't bring the issue of the children. Maybe a nanny misbehaved. You told your wife to sack the nanny. She's insisting that the nanny has to stay. You're quarreling over that, and somebody wants to say, okay, the mountain,
everything has to
the mountain is fenced for now because of this issue that is pending. I tell couples it is important that we learn how to isolate issues so that we do not get to a place where we compound little issues and not get to the place where we can solve them. One of the greatest blessing of intimacy is that it brings the both of you to a place where you mellow down.
Wow.
So if we had a quarrel that we were both not even finding our way out, after touching the mountain, we can actually sit down and say, okay,
it's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic.
That's
this matter that we've been arguing about, can we now resolve it? So if we allow conflicts to spill over and begin to affect other areas of our relationship, especially with family, you're going to have a very big problem.
Wow.
Apostle Joe, on this one, I would have wanted to play the devil's advocate. Because there's a lady out there that is, we keep saying that ladies are emotional beings.
Yes.
And the truth is, when ladies are offended, the presence of mind and feelings are absent until you again bring them. Yes. So there's somebody out there asking, then do you mean I'm still offended? And you want us to jump over that issue and get intimate? Now, we may not get the time to discuss about that.
I'm thinking that those are different departments.
Yes, I agree with you. There are different departments. But there's a lady that is not able to reconcile how they are able to do that without us addressing
the issue.
And that's the reason why, Pastor Ephantus, I should understand my wife. You should understand your wife. I'm not married to Pastor Jerica Mudhoni. You're not married to Pastor Kesha. So I need to understand, how does my wife function? And if she's not able to go past an issue to be able to get her feelings at work, then I would rather stay with this issue, resolve it. As for me, Pastor Joe, I have told my wife, and we have made, that's a principle in our house. If you have a problem that we have to solve, catch me before I sleep. Because when I wake up tomorrow morning, that issue did not exist. It cannot affect how I start my day. It cannot affect how I relate with you tomorrow. So if you understand your spouse, then you can understand what approach gives me the best results.
Powerful conversation going on right here. I want to appreciate all of us who are watching. Faith Njoroge, thank you. Been very supportive. Faith, I keep saying, if you are not in Gabriel's life, Gabriel will be faithless. My goodness. Janke Muoka, wow, Pastor Sam Nyaga, God bless you, sir. Such wisdom. Philip Mwenda, great minds. Linias Joe, great conversation. Cephas, this is Cephas or Kephas? Cephas Muthi. Hello, Dad Sam, Kephas, watching from Naivasha.
Wow.
And all of you who are watching us tonight, God bless you. That was our time, and where we have dropped that conversation is where we'll be picking next Wednesday. It will be a ladies edition. I'll be hosting ladies to help us decode the woman, because now we are understanding men. How do we decode? How do we understand women? Please don't miss that, because the ladies I'll be hosting are powerful ladies. Pastor Sam, I'm sure they had told us how we can find them, and maybe you can tell us how can we find you in a minute as we close the show.
I feel like the producer is not doing justice because he's cutting us when
time really flies. And you have a Kesha, in fact. Just invite us for the Kesha.
On the 25th of April,
yes, please.
In Nairobi Cinema. It's going to be a night of light. And it's going to be a wonderful night. It's going to be prayer-thon, a worship experience, a word experience, and a demonstration of power. And you cannot miss it for anything. But to connect with us, get me on Facebook, Pastor Ephantus Mwangi. Ephantus Mwangi on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. And then we can have conversations. God bless you. See you next time.
Wow, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Pastor Sam Nyaga. I pastor Christ Restoration Gospel Center, Thika. We are in Makongeni. On social media, on Facebook, you can get me at Pastor Sam Nyaga. The same thing on YouTube, the same thing on Instagram, the same thing on TikTok. Let's connect. Let's get to rub our minds together And if you're in the city of Thika, please don't leave without saying hi. And it's been a pleasure being on this show.
Wow, thank you, Alex Mwangi. God bless you. And Los Dominic, all the way from Nyahururu, God bless you for watching and tuning in. Well, let me see you next Wednesday, same place. I'm your host, Joe Wisdom, your trainer and your corporate men that will handle your employees in the way that you want them to conduct themselves in their places of work. The author of 2 wonderful books, Wisdom for the Marketplace and Wisdom for Wealth. You can get those materials right here on Elevation Bookshop, Kenya Cinema. God bless you and good night.